Every single morning, millions of people wake up, drag themselves to the kitchen, and pour a cup of coffee on an empty stomach. They eat breakfast, they try to be healthy, and still, the fat doesn't move. The bloating comes back, the energy crashes by noon, and they blame themselves. They think, I just don't have the discipline. I need to try harder. Let me stop you right there, because what I'm about to share with you has nothing to do with discipline, willpower, or eating less. It has everything to do with one simple thing you are not doing in the first 30 minutes of your morning. And the science behind it has been sitting quietly in Japanese villages for over 1,000 years. Subscribe to this channel and hit the like button right now. We are building something here, a community where the truth comes first. And the truth is this: the supplement industry, the diet industry, and most of what passes for wellness advice online is designed to keep you confused. A confused person keeps buying. A person who actually understands their own body does not need to buy very much at all. That is what this channel exists for. What I'm about to tell you, you will not hear at a typical nutrition consultation. Picture your morning. The alarm goes off. You feel heavy, maybe a little puffy. Your stomach is unsettled, not painful, just off, like something inside is not quite right. You make coffee. Maybe you have some toast or skip breakfast entirely because someone online told you fasting was the answer. By mid-morning, you're bloated. By afternoon, you're exhausted. By evening, you're reaching for sugar or starch to push through the last few hours of the day. This cycle repeats every single day. You have tried cutting carbs. You have tried eating clean. You have bought the probiotic capsules that promised to fix your gut. Nothing sticks. Nothing changes. Here is what nobody is telling you. Your problem is not your meals. Your problem is what happens before your meals. Specifically, what happens in the first 30 minutes after you wake up, when your gut bacteria are most active, most vulnerable, and most ready to receive a signal from you. Miss that window with the wrong input, like black coffee on an empty, unprepared stomach, and you set your entire metabolic day on the wrong track. Hit that window with the right input, and something remarkable happens inside you. That right input is a single Japanese drink. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is, why it works, and how to make it in under 2 minutes. But first, I need to explain what is actually happening in your gut. Because without that context, this will sound like just another health trend. And it is not. It is physiology. It is chemistry. It is real. Why you cannot lose the fat, the real answer. Most people believe fat storage is about calories. Eat too many, store too much. Eat fewer, lose it. Simple math. That model is dangerously incomplete. Here is what the science now shows clearly. Fat storage is largely controlled by your gut. Inside your digestive system, right now, there are approximately 38 trillion bacteria. Not a few, 38 trillion, roughly equal to the total number of cells in your entire body. These bacteria are not passengers, they are operators. They run critical systems that determine whether the food you eat gets burned for energy or gets packed away into fat cells. When your gut is populated with the right bacteria, those bacteria produce small signaling molecules called short-chain fatty acids. These molecules communicate directly with your fat cells and tell them, do not store this, burn it. They communicate with your liver, your pancreas, and your brain. They reduce cravings, stabilize blood sugar, and lower the chronic inflammation that quietly drives weight gain. But when the wrong bacteria dominate, and in most adults over 35 they do, the opposite happens. Those harmful bacteria produce compounds called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS. Think of LPS as a chemical alarm that never stops going off inside your body. It triggers a low-grade, chronic inflammatory response. And that inflammation activates a fat storage enzyme that essentially locks fat into fat cells and makes it nearly impossible to release. This is why people can diet, exercise, and eat carefully by every conventional standard and still not lose fat from certain stubborn areas. They are fighting a biochemical environment that is set to store, not burn. And the switch for that environment is in the gut. Now here is the piece that changes everything. That gut environment is not fixed. It is not determined by your age or your genetics in any permanent way. It is rebuilt continuously, literally every single day, based on what you feed it. And there is one category of food with the most powerful, fastest, and most consistent effect on rebuilding a fat-burning gut environment. That category is fermented food. And no culture on earth has mastered fermented food the way Japan has. What Japan has known for 1,000 years. Japan has one of the lowest obesity rates in the developed world. Japanese people live longer with less chronic disease than almost any other population. Researchers have spent decades trying to explain this. Some credit the fish. Some credit the portion sizes. Some credit the green tea. They keep missing the most important factor. The traditional Japanese diet is built on fermented foods, not occasionally, not as a novelty side dish, but as a daily foundation, as the thing that anchors the meal, as the very first thing many Japanese people consume each morning. And at the center of that tradition is one specific fermented food that does something no probiotic capsule has successfully replicated. It is called miso. Before you stop me because you have heard of miso soup and picture a thin restaurant broth, wait. Because what most people know about miso soup is a pale commercial imitation of what traditional miso actually is. And more importantly, most people have no idea what it does inside the body at the biological level. Let me explain that now. What miso actually is and why it works. Miso is a fermented paste made from soybeans, salt, and a specific mold culture called Aspergillus oryzae, known in Japan as koji. The fermentation process, depending on the variety, takes anywhere from a few weeks to 3 years. During that fermentation, something remarkable happens. The proteins in soybeans are broken down into amino acids, the most bioavailable form your body can absorb. The complex starches are converted into organic acids, and billions of live, beneficial bacteria are produced. Not the 1 or 2 strains you find in most probiotic capsules. A diverse, robust community of microbial life. The specific bacteria most abundant in well-fermented miso belong to the Lactobacillus family. The same strains consistently linked in published research to reduced fat mass, lower inflammation, better insulin sensitivity, and healthier regulation of the gut-brain signals that control hunger and cravings. But here's what makes miso fundamentally different from a probiotic supplement. And this is the part the supplement industry does not want you to understand. Miso does not just deliver bacteria. It delivers the food those bacteria need to survive and colonize your gut. The fiber compounds, the organic acids, the peptides in miso create what is called a prebiotic environment. The bacteria arrive and find exactly the conditions they need to thrive and multiply. A probiotic capsule, by contrast, drops bacteria into your gut with no such support. Most of those bacteria do not survive the journey through your stomach acid. Most do not colonize. You pay for the capsule. You flush most of it away. Miso is a complete system. Bacteria plus food for those bacteria, plus bioactive compounds that alter the gut environment itself. All in one cup, all working together. The mechanism. What happens in your body after you drink it? Let me walk you through exactly what happens in the 2 to 3 hours after you drink a cup of traditional miso broth on an empty morning stomach. Within minutes, the live bacteria in miso begin populating your upper digestive tract. Because your stomach is relatively empty in the morning, fewer bacteria get destroyed in transit. More reach your colon, where the real work happens. The organic acids in miso, particularly lactic acid produced during fermentation, lower the pH of your gut environment slightly. This creates conditions that are hostile to the harmful LPS-producing bacteria we discussed. Harmful bacteria prefer a more alkaline gut. Beneficial bacteria thrive in a slightly more acidic one. Miso tips that balance in the right direction, quietly, without you feeling a thing. Then comes the fat storage mechanism directly. The colonizing bacteria begin producing short-chain fatty acids, particularly one called butyrate. Butyrate has been studied extensively for its ability to improve insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. When cells respond properly to insulin, glucose gets burned for energy. When they do not, a condition called insulin resistance, which is remarkably common and usually silent, glucose gets converted to fat instead. Butyrate helps restore that sensitivity, cumulatively and consistently, with no side effects. Miso also contains compounds called isoflavones, plant-based molecules that have been shown to reduce the activity of the enzyme responsible for converting excess hormones into compounds that specifically promote fat storage around the abdomen. In plain terms, miso has a targeted effect on belly fat, through a hormonal pathway that has nothing to do with counting calories. And finally, this is why the morning timing matters specifically. Consuming warm miso broth first thing activates what is called the migrating motor complex in your gut. This is the cleaning wave that moves through your digestive tract and clears out overnight residue and bacterial waste. If you eat solid food immediately upon waking, you interrupt this process. Warm liquid with miso's fermentation compounds supports and extends it. Your gut gets cleaned, then repopulated with beneficial bacteria before a single calorie of solid food arrives. That sequence is everything. The patient who made me pay attention. I want to tell you about someone I will call Keiko. She was not Japanese. She was a 47-year-old woman who came to me exhausted and convinced her metabolism was broken. She had gained 20 pounds over 3 years, despite barely changing her diet. She was bloated every afternoon. She had completed 2 rounds of antibiotics for recurring gut infections, which had only made the bloating worse. She had tried 3 different probiotic supplements. She exercised 4 times a week. Her blood sugar was creeping upward, and her doctor had mentioned the word prediabetes for the first time. When I looked at her dietary history, what stood out was not what she was eating. It was the complete absence of fermented foods. Not a single fermented food appeared in her routine, ever. Her gut had been disrupted by antibiotics and never properly restored. The beneficial bacterial community had essentially collapsed, and the harmful, inflammatory species had moved in. I did not put her on a diet. I did not change her exercise routine. I made one single change. I asked her to start every morning with a cup of miso broth. Traditional miso paste dissolved in warm, not boiling, water, before breakfast, before coffee, before anything else. She looked at me like I had wasted her time. That's it? Just soup? Yes, just soup. Every morning. Consistently. 6 weeks later, she came back. She had lost 8 pounds without trying to. The afternoon bloating was almost completely gone. Her energy was more stable. The desperate sugar cravings she had described had softened significantly. And at her next blood test, her fasting blood sugar had dropped back into the normal range. She had not changed what she ate for the rest of the day. She had not increased her exercise. She had added 1 cup of miso broth each morning, every morning, for 6 weeks. What changed was her gut. And when her gut changed, her metabolism followed. The one mistake that destroys everything. Now, I need to tell you something critical. One mistake that completely cancels the benefit of miso if you get it wrong. Heat kills the bacteria in miso. This is not a small detail. This is the entire point. The beneficial bacteria in miso are alive. They are heat-sensitive organisms. If you pour boiling water over miso paste, you kill most of the bacteria before they ever reach your gut. You are left with flavor, some amino acids, some sodium. The probiotic benefit, the thing that makes this worth doing, is gone. The correct method: heat your water to warm, not boiling. A simple test. You should be able to hold your finger in the water for 3 full seconds without it burning. Think of a very warm bath, not a pot of tea. Roughly 140 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 degrees Celsius. Dissolve your miso paste in that warm water. Stir gently. Do not microwave it aggressively. Do not add it to simmering broth on the stove. Gentle warmth only. This is why restaurant miso soup, prepared by dissolving miso into already boiling stock, has very little probiotic value. The dish tastes the same. The bacteria are dead. The gut benefit disappears entirely. You want warm, not hot. That distinction is everything. Which miso to buy and what to avoid. Not all miso is equal. The differences matter. White miso, called shido miso, is fermented for a shorter time, weeks to a few months. Mild, slightly sweet flavor. Good starting point for people new to miso. Bacterial count is real, but lower than longer fermented varieties. Red miso, called aka miso, is fermented for 1 to 3 years. Deeper, more intense flavor. Significantly richer in beneficial bacteria and fermentation byproducts. If you can handle the stronger taste, red miso gives you more of everything that matters biologically. Mixed miso, called awase miso, combines both. It is the practical middle ground and what I recommend most often for people just starting. What you must avoid is pasteurized miso. Many miso products in supermarkets, particularly the ones in shelf-stable jars on regular shelves, have been pasteurized. Pasteurization kills the bacteria to extend shelf life. You are buying a flavoring agent, not a living food. Look for miso sold refrigerated. Look for the words unpasteurized or raw on the label, or labeling that mentions live cultures. Traditional Japanese miso producers almost never pasteurize. Health food stores and online Japanese food retailers are your most reliable sources. When you find the right product, it should smell complex, slightly funky, deeply savory when you open the container. If it smells only salty and flat, it has likely been pasteurized and the bacterial community is gone. The morning protocol, exactly how to do it. This takes less than 5 minutes, costs almost nothing, requires zero cooking skill. Step 1. When you wake up, before coffee, before your phone, before anything, heat water. Not to boiling, warm bath temperature. If you use a kettle, bring it to boil and let it sit for 4 to 5 minutes before using. Step 2. Measure 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of miso paste into a mug. This is the right amount for 8 to 10 ounces of water. Do not use more, hoping for a stronger effect. More miso means significantly more sodium with diminishing probiotic return. Step 3. Pour a small amount of warm water, just a few tablespoons, into the mug first and dissolve the miso paste completely into that small volume. This prevents clumping and makes a smoother, more pleasant drink. Step 4. Fill the rest of the mug with warm water. Stir once. Drink slowly. Step 5. Wait 20 to 30 minutes before eating solid food or drinking coffee. Give the bacteria time to begin working in a relatively uncluttered gut environment. Coffee raises cortisol and gut acidity sharply. Let the miso arrive first. If you want to add anything, a small pinch of dried wakame seaweed is the most traditional addition and adds iodine and gut lining supporting compounds. A few slices of green onion add prebiotic fiber. Beyond that, keep it simple. This is not a meal. It is a morning signal to your gut. Keep the signal clean. The foods that undo all of this. You can drink miso every morning and still see limited results if you are actively destroying your gut bacteria throughout the rest of the day. There are specific foods that act like pesticide for your beneficial bacteria. Know them. First, artificial sweeteners, particularly sucralose and saccharin. Studies have shown these sweeteners alter the gut microbiome in a direction that worsens blood sugar regulation. The bitter irony being that people use them specifically to avoid blood sugar problems. If you put artificial sweetener in your morning coffee, removing it is your single most important dietary change. Second, ultra-processed foods, specifically the emulsifiers used to extend shelf life, compounds like polysorbate 80 and carboxymethylcellulose. Research has shown these disrupt the protective mucus layer that lines the gut. When that layer thins, bacteria get too close to the gut wall, trigger the immune system, and chronic low-grade inflammation begins and sustains itself. Every day that ultra-processed food dominates your diet is a day you are tearing down what the morning miso is trying to build. Third, daily alcohol. Alcohol is directly toxic to Lactobacillus species, the precise bacteria miso delivers. Even moderate daily drinking, 1 glass of wine each evening, has been shown to consistently reduce microbial diversity over time. Occasional is very different from daily. If you drink, make it occasional. The practical instruction is not to be perfect. It is to be consistent with the miso and to remove the biggest daily gut disruptors. You do not need to overhaul everything. Remove what actively tears things down. Let the morning ritual build things up. What to expect and when. Here is an honest timeline. In the first 3 to 5 days, some people notice temporary increased bloating or mild gas. This is the existing bacterial population adjusting to competition from incoming lactobacillus strains. It passes. Do not stop. It is a sign of activity. By the end of the first week, digestion typically feels more regular. Morning heaviness and sluggishness begin to soften. By weeks 2 and 3, energy becomes more stable through the morning. The mid-morning crash flattens. Cravings, particularly for sugar and refined carbs, often soften noticeably. This is the gut-brain axis beginning to shift. The bacteria that feed on sugar are losing ground. By weeks 4 to 6, people who had inflammation-driven fat storage, particularly around the abdomen, often notice the first real movement in that area, not from restriction, from a changing biochemical environment. Beyond 6 weeks, the benefit compounds. A rebuilt gut microbiome becomes increasingly self-sustaining, particularly when you are also feeding it adequate fiber and removing the biggest disruptors from your daily diet. Why this works when nothing else has. Most gut health interventions fail, not because the concept is wrong, but because they are incomplete. A probiotic capsule delivers bacteria without the environment to support them. A prebiotic supplement delivers food for bacteria without the bacteria themselves. A clean eating plan removes bad inputs without actively rebuilding the microbial community. Each approach is a piece of the puzzle, with the other pieces missing. Miso delivers all three simultaneously: bacteria, food for bacteria, bioactive compounds that alter the gut environment itself. And the morning timing is not arbitrary. It aligns the gut priming effect with the window when your gut is most receptive. Lightly fasted, in a natural cleaning cycle, ready to receive colonizing bacteria before the day's foods arrive and create competition. This is not a trend. This is not a supplement pitch. Miso has been a morning ritual in Japan for over 1,000 years. The fact that these populations consistently show low obesity rates, low rates of type 2 diabetes, and extraordinary longevity is not coincidence. It is a signal. And the mechanisms behind that signal are now clearly documented in peer-reviewed research. Your gut is not broken. Your metabolism is not your enemy. Your body is doing exactly what it has been conditioned to do by the environment you have been giving it each morning. Change the morning. Change the signal. Watch the downstream effects follow. Your 5-step plan starting tonight. Step 1. Tonight, find unpasteurized miso paste. Check the refrigerated section of your grocery store. If it is not there, a health food store or online Japanese food retailer will have it. This is the non-negotiable step. Step 2. Tomorrow morning, wake up 5 minutes earlier. Not for a complicated routine. 5 minutes to make the broth before anything else. Step 3. Remove artificial sweeteners from your morning coffee or tea. Use a small amount of real sugar if needed, but remove the artificial ones now. Step 4. If you currently eat a processed breakfast, packaged cereal, flavored yogurt, breakfast bars, replace one item with something real. An egg, simple oats, a piece of whole fruit. One substitution, not an overhaul. Step 5. Commit to 30 days. That is the minimum time frame for a meaningful, measurable shift in the gut microbiome. 30 consecutive mornings. Miss one? Come back the next day, with no drama. Consistency matters more than perfection. Subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who has been fighting their gut and their weight without understanding why. Hit the like button so this information reaches the people who need it. We are working toward 1,000 subscribers. One principle: plain truth about how your body works, delivered without selling you something.